Today we're going to pit Poundland and Lidls against each other in the entirely sensible and obvious arena of gaming mice. Hi, welcome to the Mammoth Tech Show. I'm Jeff. Now, picture the scene. I'm in Poundland, and what do my eyes spot but a gaming mouse for the princely sum of £4. Now, this got me thinking, what sort of a gaming mouse could you really get for £4? And then, whilst wandering around Lidl's, I came across their gaming mouse. Lidl's were charging £10 for theirs, but luckily this one was 30% off, so only £7. But still considerably more than the Poundland version. So I thought, let's pit Poundland and Lidl's against each other in a titanic struggle to see who makes the best gaming mouse. So there is some method to this madness. My thinking was, these are both wired mice. Now, making a wired mouse is obviously going to be cheaper than making a wireless mouse. So can you make that wired mouse for £4? Can that be possible? Does the fact that it's wired and saving on the extra expense of making it wireless, does that save it? Or is it just simply terrible? We shall find out. So let's compare styling initially. So here's the Poundland version. Poundland have gone for the classic gaming mouse look. It's very big, it's very chunky and, well, gamery, for want of a better phrase. You couldn't mistake this for being anything other than a gaming mouse. It's got all the usual buttons and even a nice little platform on the side to rest your thumb. So it does have the potential to be fairly comfortable to hold. It's got a few extra buttons at the side and a DPI selector where you can change the sensitivity. So it's got potential. Now, Lidl's entry into this battle is more restrained, more classically mouse-like, less gamery, but it still has the side buttons. There isn't so much the little platform for your thumb, but it does have some nice grippy texture on there, on both sides actually, to hold on to. And the two DPI selection switches there, and yes, a bit more muted, a bit less in your face for Lidl's. Now, you can't have a gaming mouse without lights, and for the Poundland mouse you've got fairly muted lights. There's lights on the back and the sides, and they just cycle through colours. There's no real animation going on, and they're not that bright. On the other hand, Lidl's has a strip going around the back edge here, and this will animate and have different effects strobing around it, and the little gorilla lights up as well. They're a lot brighter and a lot more colourful. So in terms of lighting, I think Lidl's definitely has the edge here. Looking at ergonomics, the Poundland mouse is initially pretty good. There's cutouts for all your fingers on the side, and as I said, a little rest for your thumb there, and it feels the back of your hand. The back of the mouse fills up the palm of your hand quite nicely. If you've got a larger hand, this will be a pretty good mouse. But however, if your hands are on the small side, yeah, this might just be a bit too big. But I have found after using this for a little bit, it does seem to make your hand more tired, which is odd seeing as it does support your hand quite well. But although it does look quite ergonomic, it's not that comfortable to use for reasons we shall get on to later. Lidl's mouse is, as I said, more classically mouse shaped, and it doesn't fill the palm and support your hand like the Poundland mouse does, but it is very comfy with these grippy bits on the side, making it nice and easy to hold, and generally very comfortable to operate. Now, build quality is where the Poundland mouse really begins to fall apart. It just feels very, very creaky, very, very light, and that's actually the scroll wheel just rattling from side to side as I shake it. Yeah, that's not optimal at all. It really just feels very, very hollow and cheap feeling. And obviously it is cheap, but it doesn't need to feel as cheap as it actually is. Compare that to the Lidl's mouse now. This is a little bit of a rattle. There's a little bit of rattle, that's actually the side buttons. There's a little bit of rattle from them, but the scroll wheel doesn't rattle, fortunately, and it just feels more solid. I don't think it is any lighter, but it feels more solid, which sounds a bit odd, but it just feels better built. And things get worse for the Poundland mice when we look at the buttons. They sound initially okay, clicky and fairly positive sounding, but when you're using them, you actually find that they require quite a lot more force to push down than your normal average mouse button. So you kind of have to lean on them a bit. Obviously not a lot, it's only pressing with your finger, but just subtly more than you would with a normal mouse. You have to kind of think about that, press a little tiny little twitch of your finger to press the button. Probably won't depress these, so you're consciously thinking about pressing those buttons more. And it's also more of an effort, and it just makes for a less comfortable experience. And these buttons at the side are awful, basically. How long these ones at the side are going to last. This is the back and forward buttons for navigating through pages, and this one is actually the third button, which, if you've ever seen 3-button mice, the middle button, which is now generally replaced by the scroll wheel, this actually is your third button, but it is just so, yeah. And on the little side, the buttons are nice and light and positive. Really nothing to report here, which in this case is a good thing. They're just good, solid buttons. And here we have the Poundland mouse plugged into our little mini PC. And if you're interested in these little mini PCs, we're going to have a review of this unit fairly soon. So don't forget to subscribe if you want to have a look at what we reckon on this one. And are they good in general, these little PCs? So the Poundland mouse really doesn't track that well. It's not smooth to operate. It just is rather uncomfortable to use. It's got those heavy buttons and it's just not wonderfully comfortable. The Lidl's mouse tracks a lot nicer. Its buttons are much lighter, as I was saying, and it's just more comfortable to use. And the reason for the Poundland mouse's biggest letdown is on the bottom. Here we have the pads which the mouse slides around on, and they're just plastic. If you look on a normal mouse, they're a nice low friction surface that's applied to these little pads here, but they've just haven't put those on, presumably cost saving, and that just means it's so much more friction as it's sliding around. Those low friction surfaces, they're there for a reason. They're there so your mouse can slide around, and just sliding around on bare plastic, it really doesn't feel good at all. So there you have it, the Poundland mouse for £4. Can you do a mouse for £4? Well, no, not really, not a gaming mouse. So if you've got a young kid who really wants a gaming mouse and you don't want to spend a fortune on one and have them break it, then this could possibly work as a sacrificial lamb, mouse rather, at something that looks like a gaming mouse, and if they spill orange juice or just stand on it, it's not the end of the world. But they're not going to be top of the leaderboards with this performance, that's for sure. So thanks for watching. If you have any thoughts about these sorts of things, whether you've seen a particularly good cheap gaming mouse, let us know in the comments. This is not the end of the road for weird cheap mice peripherals. We have coming up a review of this weird mouse keyboard combination thing. That's coming soon, so don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to see that. If you've enjoyed this, please give it a like, and if you've got anything that you can suggest for mice or anything like that, please put it down there in the comments. So I've been Jeff, and this has been the face-off between the Poundland and Lidl's gaming mice, and you've been very kind to watch. Thank you very much.